Hey guys, hanging out by the pool today. Got back from Hartwell yesterday, so I decided I'm going to do a little bit of a tournament recap, show y'all what we were throwing, talk about practice, and yeah. But first, I'm going to thank my sponsors because without them, this trip never would have been possible. Us fishing got us there, but without our sponsors, helping us, we sold spots on our jersey for a sponsorship. For a little bit of money, and so that helped pay for gas, rooms, food while we were down there, like everything. So I'm just gonna list them off real quick. So we've got 412 Express, Judge Joanna Taylor, Madison County Collision Center, Signature Steel, Primary Electric, DC Equipment, Cornerstone Bank, Arvest Bank, Red Hog Lures, Hometown Farm and Feed, Powell Feed, Millsap Tire, Lew Thompson Son Trucking, Mine Right Logistics, Anstaff Bank, ARMI Contractors, Cydnee Designs, Bertrand and Sons Construction and Landscaping, Gill Bryant Construction, McConnell Farms, Williams Gutters, Jim Watkins Family, Anderson's, Hughes Plumbing and Contracting, and Chris Ferguson Plumbing. Also, the ones that didn't sponsor our jersey but did send us a little bit of money was Today's Bank, Sleepy Hollow Taxidermy, Lew Thompson, JMS Services, and Mossback Habitat. So, now that I got that, huge thank you to our sponsors, and thank you to my teammate Matthew. Without Matthew, this never been possible, and I couldn't have asked for a better partner for the last 4 years. Matthew's one of the best fishermen I know, and I was more than blessed to have him as a partner. And so that being said, Hartwell was really mean to us the first 2 days of practice. I read a bunch of fishing reports and got a little bit of information before we left, and talked to some people, and they all said, fishing reports and everything said that the deep bite was what was hitting. And not saying it wasn't. The tournament was obviously won. I know the kid that won the tournament. The tournament was obviously won on the deep bite, and so it was working. But around here, Matthew does it. Fishes a lot of that offshore brush and stuff. I don't do much of it. I try to get into it. I'm still learning, trying to make myself a better fisherman, obviously. But up there, it's mud bottom, it's cane piles. We don't have any cane piles around here. We don't have much mud bottom. It's mostly rock and hard bottom around here. So we were trying to fish that offshore bite, and we were having a hard time finding the cane piles, the right ones. And so the first 2 days, I think we only caught 3 bass altogether, maybe 4, and it was really rough. So about midway through day 2 of practice, we decided tomorrow we're going to put in as far up the river as we can go. We're going to go all the way up the river. And so we didn't want to run up there because that's a lot of gas. And we wanted to save as much money as possible, as much gas as possible. So we drove 45 minutes from our Airbnb to the put-in, the ramp where we wanted to fish at. And I mapped it out before we left. And from the Green Pond landing where we took off to where we were fishing every day was 34 miles, which is a long way in a boat. It's about a 30-minute run. And we went up the river and we decided we're going to do what we do back home. When it gets tough, we just go shallow. And that's where my confidence is at. That's where I do best. And so we started out, Dad picked up a War Eagle spinnerbait, blue herring shad, gold double willow, gold top blade, silver bottom blade, 1/2 ounce, and like 3 casts, caught one. And we were like, okay, we might be onto something here. And I picked up a fluke, this rig right here. I like to throw my fluke on a spinning rod. I got the Shimano Sedona, got the Abu Garcia Vendetta, 7-foot medium. It's my favorite spinning rod setup. And this Zoom fluke with a Trocar worm hook. That's all it was. I get the best hookup ratio on that, and I think I get more dance out of my bait. My bait moves a lot more. So day 3 of practice, we started out throwing that, and we caught probably, 10 or 12 keepers that day, which was, huge compared to what we did the day before and the day before that. So yeah, I was throwing a fluke, Dad was throwing a spinnerbait, and so was Matthew. We got into some schooling fish. The fish were schooling the whole time we were down there. None of them were really big. We did get into one big school fish during practice, but really most of the schooling fish were small 12-inch Kentuckys, which they are keepers down there. Everything's 12 inches. But so the fluke and the spinnerbait were big players during practice. And yeah, and a spook every once in a while when they started coming up. But mainly the fluke and the spinnerbait. So day one of the tournament, we ran right to where we started the day before in practice. And we had missed some big fish in practice and found and seen some big cruising fish in practice. So that really gave us some confidence in where we were at, that we were in the right area to catch the right fish. And day one started out just instantly. We started catching keepers. We started getting bites. It was just unreal. I mean, we were like, we had found a different lake. It was like we'd just been to a different lake, and compared to practice anyways. And so I picked up, I was throwing fluke, a zoom fluke. Matthew was throwing a Strike King caffeine shad, and we caught our limit really pretty quick, honestly. And we fished pretty much. I kept this fluke in my hand pretty much all day. I think we ended up catching, six keepers. They weren't the right size. I mean, they were all, just over 12 inches, 12 to 15 inches. And they were the Kentuckies down there that we were catching, the spotted bass, which is what that lake's known for. The ones we were catching up the river, they were skinny and long, which I've never seen in my life. I've never seen a long and skinny Kentucky. But down here, they're always fat, no matter what time of the year. But yeah, they were all skinny up there. So we weighed in 5 fish for just over 5 pounds. It was 5 pounds, 13 ounces, almost 6 pounds. So yeah, but this lure and the Strike King caffeine shad really played that day. We ended up culling one of our smallest fish with another longer, bit fatter Kentucky with this. Matthew culled that fish with this, just, they call it a horny toad down there. Just weightless, reeling it with just a hook, reeling it and kind of twitching it like a swim jig. And he culled one of our fish with that, and then our bite kind of shut down the rest of that day for about a couple hours, and then we made our run back. We weighed in, just had over 6 pounds. That was day one. So we weren't really in good contention. I think we were in like 177th going into day two. And so that night we got rigged up, and we were like, let's start out tomorrow. Let's just swing for the fences. Let's fish new water tomorrow. Let's pick out a bunch of spots on the graph we're going to start, and we're going to fish tomorrow. And yeah, we'll fish the conditions. We'll throw big baits, and we'll just go for broke. I mean, we were just trying to catch big bag of the tournament, trying to get into the final day. And so we started the final day messing around. We did the same thing we were doing the day before, throwing fluke. Fluke was catching small fish. He was catching keepers with small ones. And for like the first probably hour and a half, we didn't even have but maybe one bite, and it wasn't very big. They were active, just not active on what we were throwing. So we moved locations, and we decided I was still throwing my fluke, and it was really cloudy, overcast. It almost looked like it was going to rain. It didn't, but it really looked like it. So I pick up this buzzbait with a black Zoom frog on it, and I made 2 casts and caught almost 2.5 pounder. And we were just stoked at that point. And we fished around the back of the pocket. We got around the pocket back towards the mouth and caught another one, almost the same size, a little bit bigger, probably 2 3/4 pounds. And on this buzzbait. And then no more than we got around that point, and the clouds just like gone. Couldn't even find a cloud anymore. So we got the sun got up, and we decided, well, let's just fish somewhere where it looks like clouds. So Matthew picks up I'm still throwing my buzzbait. I decided I was just going to throw it all day long. Matthew picks up one of these weightless frogs on just a worm hook, a straight shank EWG worm hook, and he throws up in a big dark shade spot. And I'm in the bottom of the boat picking a backlash, and Matthew all I hear is that this is this massive explosion, and Matthew set the hook, and I'm scrambling for the net, and it ended up being another 2.5 pounder. It wasn't a bad one, 2.5. And so at that point, we're like, okay, let's try that. Let's run shade spots. Let's just fish. Let's lock these things in our hands all day and fish them. And so we did, and I ended up cutting off my buzzbait, which I was throwing on this rod and reel. This St. Croix Bass X 7.4 extra heavy, 7.4 heavy, KVD, Lew's KVD, baitcaster 8-3-1, 50-pound Power Pro braid, owner screw lock, weightless hook. And we just picked these up and we just threw them. Matthew caught another one. Like, I mean, it was probably a bite every hour. And Matthew caught another one. We had 4 and we were like, all right, we need one more. We had an hour left in the day. We had a lot of small bites that day on this bait. Like, but you could tell when it was a small bite, they wouldn't eat it all the way. They'd bite your tails off, that kind of stuff. And so, it was just like, it was a dogfight all day. It was one of the just hardest earned days of fishing I've ever had. Catching that limit that day was like, I felt like I was on top of the world. We didn't have enough to win, and we pretty much knew we didn't have enough to win unless nobody else got fish that day. But we were super proud of ourselves. We may not have won the tournament that day, but we most definitely, it was definitely a win in my book, and Matthew's book for sure too. But we had about, I don't know, 5 minutes left in the day. We had an hour left in the day. We get to the back of a pocket. We just kind of idled around and picked one that had a lot of shade in it, a lot of deeper, steeper banks. And we got to the back of this marina pocket, which had a ditch in the back of it and lots of shade. And Matthew throws in there and just like about a 12-incher, comes out, eats his bait, and sets a hook and misses it. And we were just heartbroken because that's the one we needed. We needed to finish our limit because we were working hard for it. I mean, we'd worked so hard. And so we fished around. We had a couple more bites, but and a lot of the fish were cruising. And so this bait was the only thing we could get them to react to. Wacky rig, fluke, they wouldn't even touch it. But that bait, for some reason, they loved it. And so we get around this point, and we're just kind of going along. Troll motor's almost dead. We covered so many miles of shoreline that day. And I throw up there. Matthew's down the bottom rigging, and I'm praying. I mean, I'm literally reeling my bait and praying at the same time. And I see this shadow come out of this dark spot, and I get it, my bait pulled into the light spot, and the shadow's still following him. And I let my bait fall, and that fish just grabs it. And I set the hook. I probably about broke his back. I set the hook hard and pulled him up in the boat, and I danced like a little kid. I was so excited that we caught that fish. It wasn't a huge one. I mean, it was barely a keeper. And so we were stoked. We idled out of that no wake zone in the marina, or past the marina. Took off, made our long run back to the boat ramp, weighed in, and we didn't win, but we were super proud of ourselves. I've never been more proud of how hard I fished in my life, and I'm going to continue to keep making myself proud, keep fishing hard. And yeah, so that's my tournament recap. I'm getting a GoPro, or I have a GoPro. I'm getting that all set up. I have a computer now, so I can edit all my videos. I'm gonna be posting clips on Instagram and Facebook, and then I'm gonna start a YouTube channel, so y'all stay tuned for that. I'll keep you posted. And yeah, love you guys. All glory to God. Without him, nothing is possible. So thank you. See you.